Here we go, Mr. TK and Tom Storey all at the same time in the same space. Wow.
Look at the background today.
So
Holy smokes.
lucky.
What's going on, guys?
Hey?
I was wondering what kind of background we would get because, like, all his videos now, it's like it's very confusing.
He's got so many places. He's just
This guy
all over the world.
guy
Mr.
owns
International.
so much property now that it's like, where shall I film my videos today?
You know what I actually did today is I was at the
Shall I wear my polo shorts today and walk around in my...
I couldn't trust the cottage Wi-Fi, so I actually drove 30 minutes into town. I'm at one of my friends in real estate. I'm just stealing her office for the day. So she's much more, styling than I am. So that's why I've got the cool backdrop today.
That looks like a chalkboard. Did somebody draw that?
No, you know what? It's wallpaper.
Wallpaper, cool.
Sneaky.
Well, welcome once again, Mr. Storey.
Welcome,
thank you, guys.
Tom
Thanks for having me.
From Tom Storey, International, man of mystery.
Man of mystery.
Like
Tom,
to live dangerously.
You've been doing a lot of stuff, Tom. Like today, I'm hoping we can focus a lot on 2022, but just kind of like a year in review. Sure. You had video courses that we were offering to agents and training. You have, obviously your team. You're in the media. You're successful. And Darryl, I don't know, I haven't told you this yet, Darryl. Okay. But somebody forwarded me a list. They sent me a list of the top agents in Toronto based on actual data. And guess who was on that list? By far the youngest and definitely near the top of the list, something to be bragging about. And I'll give you a clue. It wasn't me and it wasn't you, Darryl.
And he's on the show?
And he's on the show.
Now?
Yeah. So
wow, what number? Where'd you get?
You know what's interesting too, about those lists is that. So first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. I haven't seen these lists, so
was that an editorial that you paid for?
Not that I'm aware.
No, it's the data. Like they just kind of come up with the data.
Sponsored by Storey.
This was, I think, in Toronto. Like just.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow. I appreciate that. Yeah, we. You know what's interesting about those lists too is like I think it only counts first agent name on listings or buys. So I know even like a lot of our team, my name doesn't go first on everything. So it's like it's like those lists give you a pretty good idea, but not the whole picture.
Oh, so what you're saying is you're even better than what the list says.
No.
He wants
he's
more
right. He's right. The
TK.
data is based on like
he's reading it.
What do the stats say on the computer? So there's things that they don't know on trade record sheets and different things that
TK's reading it going, oh my God, look at I'm so proud of Tom. This is amazing. And Tom's going, this is fucking horseshit. They didn't even count half the sales I should get credit for.
No, but you know what? It's the same for everybody. It's the same for everybody. I'm sure there's others that had the exact same thing.
Pre-construction exclusives. There's all sorts of things that miss out.
I didn't think real estate, fucked around with numbers and, manipulated things. That's so odd.
A little bit. A little bit.
Let's get this out of the way before we forget. Everybody hit the damn like button now. Everybody's watching the video. Nobody's hitting the like button. And I think we would like to spread this message a little further, especially when we have a great guest, like an award-winning guest on the show. Like hit the like button.
Toronto Real Estate Show Award.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the best guests on the Toronto Real Estate Show Award for sure. Tom Storey.
I like the way you put that. That was good. Hey, what's your percentage of people that watch these videos but aren't subscribed? Do you know that number?
You know how long ago I stopped looking at the stats on this thing?
It's high.
I can't figure this thing out, man. I can't figure out the algorithm. Some days it loves us. Some days it hates us.
I put out a video that wasn't just 100% real estate related last week. It was just like the 5 best assets based on appreciation. And it bombed because it wasn't in my lane of what I normally put out. So I don't know exactly how it works either, but it's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, we try and direct the conversation to relevant topics, but we meaning TK generally takes us off the rails. But clearly. TK's goal and my goal for today are in alignment. I want to talk about predictions for the upcoming 2022 season of Toronto real estate.
I love it. Let's do it.
Got it. Well,
You
what
were
are
calling
seeing
for a
now?
crash in your last
January.
video.
January.
What the hell, man?
I love your comments, Daryl. Well, you know what it was? It was like, if you think a crash is going to happen, here's all the things that would actually have to happen at the same time for that to happen.
Let's define a crash, though. What really constitutes a crash, guys? How bad do things have to get for it to There's a stat, isn't it? Is it like 30% in a year?
I was going to say 30 to 40%. That would be pretty bad.
I'd say at least go back to a time like, you know, if prices went up, you know, 30% and then they dropped 30% right back to normal, right? Like that's like in 2017, it wasn't really a crash. It was a major correction, but it was 30 or 40% on certain properties.
Yep.
Right. But just because they were just way out of line, like they just didn't belong there. So to say that was a crash, you know, it's hard because it literally bounced back and in some areas were unaffected. Right. So it's hard to put a percentage on it.
But I think you know what I'll tell you, just like to build off of that. So, you know, this is my 9th year in real estate. And so I'm certainly haven't been doing this the longest, but I'm also not brand new anymore. Like I'm kind of in that middle ground. And I have not seen this level of demand since early 2017. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or if that's very scary. You know, we took offers on a condo last week. We had 16 offers. It probably sold more than, not list price to sale price, but more than market value by about $75,000.
What's that as a percentage of price?
Like for value or actual list price?
How much over actual value? Not fucking asking price bullcrap.
Probably 5 to 8% over value. Another house last night that on a good day gets, you know, $1.25 million, has many offers over 1.3. That
where
2 years ago, Upper Beaches. Upper Beaches is like a nice way of saying not the beaches, but close.
Yeah. Scarborough.
2-bedroom house. You know, we offered on it, and even I had a conversation with the agent, and I thought everything right now, it seems for freehold, it's like whatever you think it's going to sell for at $100,000 or maybe more in some cases. Obviously.
But hold on a sec. 1.3, that's in Toronto. And people are paying like 1.5, 1.6 in Brampton. What the fuck is going on here?
2-bedroom on Upper Beaches. These are tiny houses.
It's Upper Beaches, man.
Yeah. Still,
that gap between Toronto and everywhere else is getting very, very tight. And you can look at it. You can look at it in two ways, right? It's like, well, Toronto was already expensive and they were already cheap relative to Toronto, and now they've caught up. But it's like these markets.
How dare they? Like, but how do they deserve to be caught up to Toronto?
Well, at some point,
Georgetown.
Like,
what
are these markets going up only because work from home is a thing? Because if that's the case, like I'm a little nervous because, you know, TK, 2017, the only markets that actually saw a real correction were outside Toronto.
Yeah. The biggest ones were the furthest
York
markets.
and Durham, and
York,
right,
big time. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you
happening now, but it's going further. It's going further.
Work from home is not ending now. That's for damn sure. It's going to get a little stronger for a bit, right?
Well, we just had a sale last week for $421,000 over asking in Guelph.
Did you see my tweet about Guelph? I was like,
I've been to Guelph like twice in my life, you know, like,
hey, I went to school at Guelph.
I'd have to use the GPS to get there. Yeah.
If you bought every house you could 3 years ago in Guelph, imagine how much money you could have made. Like, it's crazy. They doubled in 2 years. Doubled. Yeah. What right do they have charging so much money? It's not even they're charging. People are just going there and going, you know what? Fuck it. It's like 15 minutes further than I was willing to go and pay for this. Like, just fuck it.
Also, just scarcity.
We're moving to Guelph.
The person who is looking at that property has spent 6 months probably looking, and they just
they're fed up.
Anything, right?
They're fed up.
Yeah, and and nothing's coming up. No inventory.
You know, like there's a lot on Twitter now, and it's catching a lot of steam of showing, like, you know, past 2 years the increases on the same property selling.
Yeah, it's insane.
So I haven't had that happen with any of my clients, but I guess mostly because I'm in the core and no one sold that quickly again. But do you think that person that sold it, that made $600,000 in 2 years, do you think when they bought it, that was the goal? Because it couldn't have been.
No, It's crazy. It's
right?
like, it's
are
like,
they actually speculators, or did they just go like, oh my God, might as well sell it?
it's probably,
I don't
there's
even
like,
think that.
there's
I
three
think that something
families
happened
in
their
there
life.
going,
No. People don't want to move. Moving is a pain in the ass.
It sucks.
Nope. Nobody wants to move. So I think something changed drastically, Tom, and they're just one of the fortunate few, right?
first
I hope
time
they bought
home
first.
buyers.
Who
No,
cashed in.
first time home buyers are like, holy cow. Like now we can actually go afford a house where we want to live. This is crazy. We got to
they
do
though?
this.
After they sell, what do they do afterwards, right? With that
Huh.
money, where do you go?
But that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
all relative, right? Like I hope
Yeah.
in all those cases when we're seeing like the
It's
increases,
always that.
I hope they bought first, because like they
Yeah.
got to go buy
Or
something.
willing
They
to
just set the
rent.
market.
But
Yeah,
even
maybe
renting
chances are
is tough.
They got a plan. Yeah.
Even renting is crazy.
So
it's
we
the
agree.
same thing.
So we agree. January right now is on fire, and it is
Yeah, I
leading
haven't
towards
seen.
a really extensive, growth this year in 2022.
Well, what do we think? What's happening right now as far as the two of you guys are concerned? What are you seeing as far as inventory? Are more units coming on the market or are less?
So I ran a poll on my Instagram asking other realtors to tell me how many properties they were listing, just out of curiosity, and I shared the result. And I got 75 realtors reach out to me telling me how many properties they were preparing. And most of them were like very well-respected market leaders, like good realtors. And I got 252 combined out of 75. So about 3.5 per person. Now, realtors that had none probably wouldn't have messaged me, right? So it was really just the people that were bringing stuff. But, I had talked about this before, and I talk about this in my videos sometimes too, but it's like at the end of last year, we had 121,000 sales in the GTA, in the Toronto Real Estate Board. The year before, we had like 95,000. So it's like, how can we have no inventory and also have the most amount of sales ever? And the new thought process that I got from one of the coaching groups I'm in is we don't have low inventory. We have fast inventory. And Darryl, I know you commented on my tweet about that.
Yeah,
but
what
it's
did I
like,
say
that's
again? No, I said we would have sold even
we would
more
have
if
sold
there was more
200,000.
available. Yeah.
And you're probably right, because every house had 5, 10, 15 offers on it.
Now you're saying 16 offers went 8% over actual what you think the value was at that moment in time, which was based on something, right? So, wow, it's crazy what's going on out there.
And so many people message me saying, we have this amount of listings coming, but they all have to buy first.
Well, and hold on a sec.
Like,
yeah, 252 out of 75 agents. Is that good? 3 per agent. That's fucking
First of all, the
bullshit.
252 is not realistic, because every time I'm preparing 3 people's houses for sale, one of them changes their mind or doesn't end up doing something. So
agree.
The 252 is probably one
pipe dream. Yeah.
right? Yeah. So it's like hopeful.
It was more just to like gauge like what was coming down the pipe.
But there's more inventory now.
No.
Like I'm not saying.
Is that more
enough.
though? Is that a lot?
All I
don't
mean,
think
Darryl,
that's
is
going to do anything.
we have our searches set up, and there's listings that are now coming up that 2, 3, 4 weeks ago weren't, and that's holiday stuff and New Year's stuff.
It's like we forget every year how the beginning of the year starts. Like today's January 16th. Of course, there's no inventory.
No, but 2,500 units. Like, come on,
no,
that's not no inventory. That is like, but shelves are bare. If you're looking in a specific area, what's the fucking chance there's going to be a house that you're even like close to cool with?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But it's not because obviously inventory is low, but it's because everything was absorbed in November and December, and it's not trickling back. So we're just not used to seeing things come off the market this quick, right?
Imagine how many have to come on and how quick. You want to talk
about? It's not going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And if you look at how prices increased last year in at least the city of Toronto, most of the price increases happened from January till April. They went like this, and then they hovered most of the year, and then September was good.
Sales volume too.
Yep, November was
realtor sales volume. Like everybody like made their numbers by June, and
then it tailed off.
Yeah, and then it tailed off.
And I'm hoping that happens this year, because we can't sustain this. And
I was going to say, it's scary when realtors all say like, where are you going to move to? Also, like, what do you like, right? You guys are seeing such a crazy gap and demand supply here that it's like, I don't even know what to tell you to do right
It's
now.
so stressful in the fact that like people think that we have it great right now. And some of us are in a position where we do a lot of listings where like, yeah, sure, life is easier right now on the listing side, but all those people need to buy. And it takes 5-10 offers just to maybe get something. And yeah, it's tough.
But it's a bigger challenge to deal with sellers right now because sellers have higher expectations than ever. There's more competition from other agents. There's downward pressure on commissions. There's all sorts of other factors that come with a strong seller's market that doesn't make it ideal for anyone. There really isn't an ideal market in real estate. You understand that it's a pain in the ass and that you're going to deal with it and do the best you can in any market, right?
So the only person winning right now is if like someone is selling their forever house and going into a retirement home and cashing out, or maybe they're an investor that has one that they just don't need anymore and they can just sell it and cash out and take that money, right? Yeah. Everybody else, it's you got to buy something else.
Yeah.
You see this today came out blog.to.
What is this,
tiny 2-bedroom house in Toronto is on sale for almost $3 million.
What's the lot size?
Where is it?
It's like 40 by 120.
Okay.
And it was already approved and split into semis.
That's why.
But hold on, still, this is like Bayview and Eglinton, Laird area, 1.5 a lot.
1.5.
Why did they even
seems pricey?
Pictures? Yeah, that does
look
seem
at this.
Pricey.
Whoa. Yeah, even the article says it seems pricey. Like it's crazy. $3 million for a 40 by 120 that's been severed in a neighborhood. How
Well,
they get that already?
Well, I'm sure the process of getting it severed is factored into that price, right?
For sure.
Also, sometimes guys have expectations on making a profit. So
look what's going to happen.
Construction costs are too much. Maybe it'll be cheaper for me to just sell the land because I've done all the extra work. But I still wanted to make that $500,000 because that was the plan from the beginning. So they list properties with building permits and stuff, and they're at crazy prices.
Forget it. Look what's going to happen now. Hey, look at this. You can put a fourplex on it now, man. Look at this. This is worth $14 million, man. Cap rate of $18 million. This is what's going to happen now. Look, $3 million for this thing. And
if it sells, we'll see.
If it sells, but this is what's going to start happening is people are going to value the properties differently. Now, when the hell in Bayview and Eglinton could you even have a semi before? This is crazy. But everything else in there, if you guys take a look, you'll see in the $1 million range for a house like this.
Yeah.
Bananas. But this is the government policy. This is what it's going to start to do. People will value their properties as fourplexes now.
Well, any seller that had something about their house that wasn't desirable that didn't sell last year, and maybe the thing that wasn't desirable was the price, or you just didn't have a great floor plan, or you had a shitty view, or that kind of stuff, you will sell right now. That's a fact. So we've been having the conversation just within our own team. It's like, hey, all the people that maybe had unrealistic expectations last year, let's talk to them and see, because they might not be unrealistic anymore, whether we like it or not. Like,
I had
need
one
inventory. You're gonna die.
I had one that sold, I think the 29th or 30th of December, that had a creek running through it in Thornhill, Conservation Authority governed, Heritage District, built on a slope. Like, it was just a total nightmare because everyone wants to build and you can't build on the lot. And
somebody bought it.
Persian doctor buying her first property, liked the property. It's a beautiful piece of land, has no intentions of building, and ended up buying the property for a price that was, great for my sellers, and they were super happy. Right. So yeah, that's what it is. If you got something unique, you got a stigma associated with your property. I'm negotiating right now on a place. It's boarded up. Okay. There's no access to the property. We haven't been inside. The fire department shut it down. It's in the news as a crack house. And, we're negotiating with the sellers right now because no one can get in. And we figure it's a good time to get a good deal. Right. Yeah. So this guy's going to be selling this house boarded up because
slightly lived in.
Right. That's what it is. Right.
That's it.
A
that
real
takes
fixer upper.
Yeah.
That takes it to another level. Cause we used to say, like, when the market's like this, go after the stuff that's done bad. So like, don't go over the beautifully staged properties with offer dates. Go check out the stuff that's been sitting 2 weeks that has shitty photos, or they took an iPhone 4 photo, upside down and, or maybe it's tenanted, but like, that's the full next level is like, a house you can't get into, go buy that one because there'll be less competition on that. Like, that's where we're at, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's why like the everywhere. Weird, like little towns are getting 95% increases because people are like, Like, what is within this area here and like has water and electricity?
Can we just say too, just to be clear, like not only is it that these places are becoming more attractive to people because of work from home, but the problem is on both sides, Toronto agents driving 2 hours that have no idea what they're doing, making offers on these properties in little communities they know nothing about. They don't know what a well clause is. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
And they're overpaying, first of all. Like the Toronto buyer for every market outside Toronto is the foreign buyer for what Toronto sellers are looking for. Like that's what we are.
Yeah.
And it's bad. But even in Toronto, like sometimes I get offers on my condo listings from agents outside Toronto and they way overpay. So it's the same both ways.
We need this. This is a symbiosis that is necessary for the growth in the GTA. Like whether we like it or not, if we grew up here, you either better make a lot of money or be prepared to move further to commute, because that's the reality. Otherwise, this whole scheme just doesn't really work. And there's no doubt that we are in the inventorying of human beings in Canada. We need to build places for people to live so they come with their money and stimulate the economy. That's like 100% the plan, right? It's like, but in order for that plan to work, people have to like forcibly move further away to have what they're used to.
So here's the issue. Construction costs. That's the issue. If you go to any small town, you're getting the land for free. Any price that these got $400,000 or $500,000, this is the cost of the rebuild. You know, you can't replace these houses for what you're paying for them. So you're getting the land for free because it's already there. And you know that any new development in the area, builders, even if they're $20,000 a lot, can't afford to build a property that's going to be anywhere close to the price that you're paying. And you know that that is going to elevate prices. So is it overpaying? You know, yeah, I mean, based on 2 years ago, but from here on, is there any new inventory, any new supply that's ever going to come to the market anywhere close to that price? No, it's just not possible anymore. Right? Like construction costs have gone up a lot, guys. We're talking major increases here that aren't going back down.
But even if, what do you know of that has gone up in value that people got used to paying and then like shrunk back to like, I don't know, 8 years ago level? Like what the hell does that? When people get used to paying something,
commodities and stuff like that,
commodities, but that's trader stuff. Like that's futures. The normal person, like who's doing that?
The only thing would be like the early stock market launches of companies that came out high, but then dropped, but that didn't last that long.
What,
right?
What about Tickle Me Elmo? Tickle Me Elmo. That was hot. That was a hot item. Now you could probably get those things no problem for $29.99. So things happen, the markets change, but there's a fundamental part of real estate, which is in order to be able to create a house, you have to build it, right? It's not going to just produce itself. There's a limited supply, right? And like you're saying, we're warehousing people. So people need to be moving somewhere. So I understand why people are paying these prices in the smaller towns. I don't think it's a great idea. I'm not saying like go out there and just pay anything. But when you look at what the future holds, because Tom, in 2017, I know what happened. And it was a hugely inflated price because there was a lot of people who were buying and it was pure speculation. I think people are buying for more legitimate needs now. Yeah. I think there is a mass exodus. We talked about net interprovincial migrations and things like that, where Toronto's losing a lot of people. And I think a lot of people have left Toronto for good and that they'll never come back. They can't afford to come back. And I think that some of these prices, some of the growth in these smaller towns will be sustained, that, you know, infrastructure will grow and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is, as those populations grow in any small town Canada, new builders, new developments will come in and they have no choice but to build at those prices. Like there's just no formula where they're going to be able to come up with prices from 2018 where those new builds used to be 400,000. It doesn't exist anymore. It's 600K or more for a townhouse in Belleville or whatever. Right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And just wait. Like I've been saying this for a while. Wait until immigration of 400,000 people is actually human beings coming into the country that are new, not just landed people being transferred from this side of the ledger onto this side of the ledger so we can hit our target in the media this year, right? Because that's all that happened. I mean, 50,000 humans actually came into Canada, but you know, 350,000 got transferred from one ledger to the other. So like wait till there's actually 180,000 new people coming into the GTA.
Because the thumbnail for this video is going to show that the market's crashing and 2022 is going to be the worst year ever.
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk quickly about some of the things that the bears are all saying right now, right? Like government policy, surtax on houses.
What about interest rates are supposed to go
investors, interest rates, all that kind of stuff. What do you think, Tom?
Okay. What would actually need to happen for the market to cool down? Like realistically, interest rates, I think would have to go from, if right now the fix is like 2.75, whatever it is, 2.8. But by the way, the delta between the variable and the fix is massive right now. I think fix would have to go to like 4.5% for things to legitimately start cooling down. We would have to limit immigration in some capacity, which is not going to happen, right? Or there's somehow going to have to be new supply, which is not going to happen. So it's interest rates. If we can't borrow money at way under inflation, prices won't continue to do what they're doing. It just won't happen.
So the reality is probably whenever they do a rate hike, like what's it going to be? A quarter point the first time?
Yeah, I think the first time it'll be a quarter point because they don't want to spook anybody.
Just like
the Bank of Canada, right? The banks can still not raise or choose to raise.
So only the variable rate is tied to the Bank of Canada rates, right? Yeah. The fixed is up to what the banks want to do, but obviously it's a whole part of it. It's going to be a 0.25 and then maybe another 0.25, but
what about ruling measures?
When you have 16 offers on a property in God knows where, okay? And all of a sudden, like I was thinking this yesterday, there's probably people out there going like, I fucking hope for a rate hike because I can afford it and it's going to drop some of my competition off the table, right?
Yeah, but you go from 16 offers to 13 offers.
Whatever it is. But that's exactly it. That's exactly where I was going, is it will make a difference. Beautiful little speed bump. And for a little bit, right? And they'll have to do another one. That'll be like another speed bump. And they don't want to hurt the market. This is the gravy train. They
when
just
2017 happened, though,
shut everybody up already.
We said the exact same thing. We said, but there was 30 buyers at the offer table, and that they didn't buy. Only 29 people didn't get the house. But as soon as policy changed, then a lot of those people never ended up buying again. They were hot.
How much inventory was there?
Again, it was a similar market, right? Nothing was for sale, fast inventory. It was going quick. And, the lineups at houses were crazy, right? So I think if there is enough policy, just to be the other side of the coin here, if there is enough policy where, investors are targeted, so it takes out, a lot of those guys, increase to their down payments or, some sort of
vacant tax, maybe,
if there's, talk about, interest rate hikes further than the 4.5 or up to 4.5, like Tom's saying, where, the Bank of Canada or the big banks are all saying, no, this is where we're heading and inflation gets, out of control. Then there's a possibility that buyer sentiment says real estate's not a good investment anymore. And that's when the tables turn. That's what
it's also, I think in 2017, if we look back to that, because in terms of where the demand's at, that's what we're looking at right now. When the government came in and did the fair housing plan in Ontario, right? It was like foreign buyer tax, rent control, but that was pretty much it, right? And so I think more than anything, and then, when you went to 2018, we saw the stress test come in. So that limited what people could borrow. It's psychological. If a buyer hears and isn't doing it every single day or entrenched in this, like Darryl is, right? Where our minds are not the average person, right? Think of just like the average person doesn't care until it's time for them to move again, right? And if they're actively trying to buy a house and they hear and they're watching the news, oh, rates are going up and it's going to affect prices, and they're hearing this, it's just psychological. So even if rates only go up 0.25%, the average person doesn't know what that means to their actual mortgage. If you do a little research, you'll figure it out. And I'm not saying average as like intelligence, like why would they care?
They're not in the market. They live there.
But they
98% just live in the house.
At the dinner parties, that guy's going,
right,
market's going down, it's crashing, I'm selling everything. And they're thinking, oh, honey, we were just about to buy. It's not a good time to buy.
So if rates go up, just psychologically, I think it actually could be a good thing. But we also have to remember that we don't buy purchase prices. We buy monthly payments. That's what you're buying. So even if rates go up, if the house you want stays at the same price or goes down a little bit, which realistically isn't going to happen, it's more just going to be, it's going to stop the accelerated growth. It's going to cost you the same, if not more, for the same property if rates go up, even if prices slightly dip. So maybe that's a good thing that I'm not sure of, but I don't see an end in sight here unless psychologically the mindset of buyers is going to change.
That's the key unknown here, is just all the policy could stay the same, but the psychology could change, and that impacts the market. Or all these policies get implemented, but the psychology doesn't change, and everyone says, just like the stress test, well, I'll just find a way around it. If it's foreign buyers tax, I'll make do. Investor tax, I'll just get my cousin to buy it, and he's going to live in the property. Like, the psychology is there. Buyers will find a way to buy.
And you know what stressed out buyers too? They go one of two paths when they get to the point where they're super fed up. I don't give a shit anymore. Here's 150 grand extra on this house. I don't care. I'm not doing this again. I'm living here for 10 years. And that's what inflates prices. Let's be clear. Or I'm out. Yep. I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. So it's like that pushes things in a bad direction. That will actually be good, not for them, obviously, for the market in general. Yep. So it's one of those two things. When you get to that end of the road where you're pissed off, one of those two things happens.
So, but how many of the buying groups are needing to buy a place?
Most of mine don't need, because they currently own something. They just want to upsize. They don't need, they like.
But when you say upsize, let's say it's from a condo and they've got children.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
The
so maybe it's more of a need.
Incrementally grow, right? Like as time goes on, like it's like, so.
Oh, they feel they need to.
Yeah. Like I would say like need to, as in like they've already sold and they're homeless and they're, yeah, that's a small percentage.
Or they moved here
sure.
And like they have cash and they don't want to rent.
Strong desire. If you're looking right now, you have a strong desire because it's stressful and you're really not. Yeah. Like you don't want to do this. These games are not fun for anybody. So if you're even willing to go and look at a place with Tom right now, you have in the back of your mind a strong desire at the very least to want to make a move, right? It just may not be possible right now. That's the reality.
Well, and you know what? From recent experience, what people also need to do in this environment, trust me, you need to factor in, look, no, there's no conditional offers, right?
Not that like.
No, not that win. So
when was the last conditional offer, accepted? Hey?
Accepted, I don't know, but surprisingly, when I had 16 offers last week, 5 of them were conditional, and we had the staff certificate for a week, and they had lots of time. But all those, so just so you know, when you make a conditional offer on a property that you know is never going to be accepted, it's just pushing up the sale price because it's inflating how many offers are on the property, which is pushing the top ones up.
Yeah, you're screwing yourself. Yeah. But like right now we have like a leak in the kitchen. We have, we need more insulation where floors are a little cockeyed. There's issues that like they definitely knew about, and they didn't disclose, and I have no recourse because I bought as is, which is fine. But you need to factor that in because you don't know if you're going to have to spend an extra $5,000 you didn't think about or an extra $50,000 you didn't think about if you're going in there blind, or even with like this thing had an inspection report on it. None of this stuff was mentioned. And quite honestly, you kind of develop blinders when you're desperately trying to buy a house because all the signs of all the stuff were there. It just, you're running in there and it's like, you got a mask on and everything's fucked. And you got to get to the next one before somebody buys it and bully offers you. And it's just like, it's so crazy. You don't see, you remember later going like, oh yeah, the ceiling looked like that before. Shit. Like, right. And
well, you were there for 45 minutes. You should have seen it all, Darryl.
Yeah, you're there for 45 minutes going like, well, can we afford this? And we gotta talk to your dad and we gotta do this and we gotta call the mortgage broker. And oh my God, this is way more than we were thinking. Can we do it? Do you want to do it? Should we do it? TK, what do you think? It's crazy. Like when we're seasoned, right? Like we've done it before, never in this environment before. I feel so bad for your clients right now that are trying to buy. It must be nuts. And that can't step up on the price. Like if you have a fixed number, you're fucked. Or your expectations have to shrink quick.
The what I've been trying to do math wise as well is talking to a lot of clients this year that want to get into the freehold market that are currently still in condos. And we're just playing out, okay, even if condos go up 15% this year, if semi-detached houses go up 10%, you didn't get any closer because they started at a higher price percentage wise, right? So we're trying to, okay, so if just guessing, obviously, if the next 3 years, these are the increases that we could expect, being very conservative across the board for the main property types, is it actually going to be better for you to hold this for the next 3 years before you jump up, or should you just bite the bullet now? Because it's going to have to significantly outweigh the increases on the higher property types already just to get you closer.
Yep.
Plus the mortgage will probably be higher too.
Sellers too. Right. So what's your advice to them, Tom? What's your advice to your clients? Because it's hard for, nobody wants to hear, just go and buy a house that you don't like in the area that you're not happy with, because it's going to be in the long run much more beneficial to you. And then 5 years from now, we'll get you that dream home. They don't want to hear that.
You know, it's funny because it used to be like, hey, listen, your first property, you don't get to love it, but you're going to love the position it puts you in 5 years. But how many times are we saying that now? Like, what is it? The second one too? Is it the third one? I hope not, because
Daryl's still working on it. He's on like 43 or something like that. He's going to be number 50, Darryl. Then that's going to be on the bridal path. I promise you, you're going to get there.
Yeah. Climb up that ladder.
I don't want to move again. Listen, it was like 12 years. When we were younger, we jumped around every 2 years, but like, this is a lot of work, especially when you have a way too much stuff and you're busy and you're older and your back hurts and like, there's a lot of shit to move. A lot of stuff.
I want to hear Tom's advice though. I want to hear like, how do you handle that situation, Tom? Because it's a tough situation.
It's a risk tolerance thing, right? So like, let's say you own a condo and you want to buy a freehold property, because that's most of the conversations I'm having right now with clients. If we just look at historically, the last 10 years, not even, like, let's use the last 50 years of data that we have in terms of like what could potentially happen and look at the different asset classes. It's probably going to cost you more money to buy the same house 3 years from now, because your condo is not going to increase at the same higher percentage, but not the same actual dollars in your pocket, right? So if it was me giving myself my own advice, I would say buy the house you want now if you can afford to do it, and sell your condo now if you can, because condo prices are going to do really well this year, but so is everything else. So you're not getting anywhere closer. So that's what I would say right now. But
what if the house that you like though isn't in your price point? So, because this is the delusion. Well, my condo's going up. So right now I can't afford the $1.6 million house because I can only afford 1.5 or 4.
Hold on.
But my condo has been going up right now. I'm going to stay in this condo until it goes up 100,000 so that I could go and buy that $1.6 million house.
But then that 1.6 house is going to be 1.8.
Exactly. It's the delusion of I'm gaining equity in my condo right now and it's getting me closer. But like you said, 10% increase in the freehold market and a 15% increase in the condo market, you're no closer.
Yeah.
And so you're just pushing away this inevitable decision that you have to make, which is to buy a house that you're really not excited about.
Tough it out, big guy. Make a bigger gain on a bigger number. Tough it out.
Crypto.
Or some people are just saying like, we don't want to deal with that. Let's refi and leverage what's in our condo. Let's go buy another condo as an investment, so we can have 2 properties we're running with at least, instead of that one big house.
It's
a great idea. Option. As you're saying, excuse me, honey, can you just move over 1 sec? I need to get through the hall here.
But Darryl, they're not leaving their condo unless they buy something. So if they're going to sit and wait around for, something that's never going to happen, which is the housing market collapsing and the condo market continuing to go up, or somebody willing to sell a home much less than what, it should be worth, then you might as well be waiting with another investment property so that you're in the market. Sure. Refinance, take some money out, buy a condo, buy any investment property, whatever it is, so that you can build a little bit of extra equity. And that might be your solution to jumping up that 200K that you need in 5 years.
Imagine if you're in a condo and you're pregnant and like, you're like, can't raise a baby in here. Where the hell are we going to put the crib? Where are we going to put all that shit? We got to get out of here, Sam. We got to get out of here. We need 3 bedrooms now. We need a house. We need a backyard. And then they come to you guys and they're like, oh, hey guys, I got $1.2 million. I can get, what can I get?
Yeah. Well, I just did this, Darryl. I just did this. So this is somebody that I sold a condo to, 1+ den, and they had a baby on the way, and they said, no, it's going to be fine. We're going to do it. We can't afford anything else. They said, great. 3 years, we're going to move, no problem. So they called me up 2 months ago and said, we're pregnant, right? We're pregnant. We got another one coming. I said, it's a 1+ den. We got to like find out all this kind of stuff. But the houses that they can afford are not anywhere close to the house that they want to buy, right? And their situation, because mat leave and all that kind of stuff, isn't as good as it will be in about 3 years from now, right? So we went over all their options. The best option that I found for them was to go and rent a townhouse and rent out their condo. That was the only option that they have. So now they're collecting income from the 1+ den. They're using that. It's about a $400 or $500 loss that, you know, they're paying $400 to $500 to get a much bigger space. So that's good. And now they're living in this townhouse. They moved in, I think, in December or January. And in 3 years, when their situation's better, they'll get the tenant out of the condo, sell it, and move into the house that they want to buy.
I guess when you really look at the gains people are getting and how relatively reasonable rent is right now compared to purchase prices, it's not a terrible idea. Like for a lot of people.
What kind of income did they have?
Single income. So not enough in Toronto. Very good single income, but not enough in Toronto. Not for what they need.
Crazy.
5 years ago, that income would be like, any house you want. Where do you want to go? You want to go to Scarborough, North York, Toronto? We'll get you a semi in Riverdale, but not anymore.
Now you can't even get a condo in Georgetown, like on the futures market, right? In pre-con.
At what point does it get so like, obviously, like I'm a numbers guy. I love referencing the 40-year chart in Toronto and how our 40-year average with good and the bad is 6.73% appreciation per year through the good years and the shitty years and all that. And someone actually commented on one of my videos being like, hey man, if you continue that for the next 20 years or for the next 40 years, the next 20 years, it's gonna be $20 million to buy a house in Toronto. So like it made sense when it was 75,000, 80,000, even 400,000. But when we're talking 1.1 million average price, that at some point,
I would have said the same thing 40 years ago. They said, well, $1 million for a house. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Forget it. What about in New York? They must have had this conversation in New York always. Right.
You can still like, it's not $20 million to buy in New York. Like you can still
$90 million condo just sold.
Well, yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah. $20 million. That gets you like on the ground floor. Okay. Of like a shitty apartment building.
So then do we just have to acknowledge that if things go the way they do and there's no significant government intervention and population continues to do what it's doing and Toronto and the GTA is an attractive place to live, that it's going to become that you rent unless you're extremely wealthy and wealthy people own like San Fran or New York or Paris? Like, is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Won't be surprised.
That's what's happening. It's the Manhattanization of the city. It's just, listen, we all don't like and agree with most politicians, but there's clearly a plan here, right? Like there's clearly a plan to inflate housing prices. I mean, you can't ignore it, right? So they know that they did this. They know that that was a result. They've known it for a long time. They could have done something. But I mean, what happens when this scheme, because it is a scheme, like everything's a scheme, somebody has to buy something for more always. Like what happens when people aren't paying more? It's a real mess. People don't get reelected. People don't get reelected. So hold on a sec. This is an election year. Well, we can guarantee this thing's not crashing this year. Right?
Just to bring something up, Darryl. That would mean that every politician in North America was in cahoots with each other, raising housing prices.
You're giving them a lot of credit.
No. No, what I'm saying is like there's a coordinated effort from all countries to put money into the economy because they have to keep close parity with the United States dollar, which is the reserve currency. And United States is putting trillions of dollars into the economy. So if we don't, our dollar gets strong. What happens to Canada with a strong dollar? it's just as bad as a real estate collapse, because now we can't ship anything anywhere. Nobody wants to buy anything. Nobody wants to come for tourism. Nobody wants to film movies. A lot of things go to shit when our dollar gets strong. So everybody has to like inflate their dollars just to keep pace with the reserve currency. Everybody collapses if they don't. And that's why, like, you're not going to have a Zimbabwe hyperinflation in the States, because they're what's everything is pegged against right now. Until that changes, everybody has to keep pace with whatever the hell they're doing. And that just leads to asset price inflation.
What incentive for the politicians? And again, like, they're not obviously all in cahoots, but it's just the system in general. Like, what incentive do they have to change anything?
Have you been to a consult? Like, have you been to a community meeting for a new development ever?
No.
It's like pitchforks and daggers, right? You're up on the cross, and then everybody. Look, you only have 18 people show up, and they all are against it. Nobody's coming and going like, hooray, yay. Well, except for ours, but we're different. But really, like, not everybody has a show.
There's a lot of sides, and
where people are going to show up and cheer, right?
There's a lot more reasons than what you're saying why money's coming into the economy. There's a lot more issues and fundamentals that they're looking at. I don't believe that they're trying to inflate the housing market. I think they know that's an issue. The stress test proves that from 2018, and the Bank of Canada is even talking about it now, that there needs to be some extra measures introduced, like the stress tests from 2018, to cool the housing market, because they're concerned about the cost of housing, which is the highest weighted item in the basket, right? So
maybe it's not just inflate. Maybe they're not trying to inflate, but they're trying to make sure it also doesn't go the other way.
Well, they're trying to keep jobs and job growth going, which means people need to invest in things that create jobs, which is, I mean, real estate's one, but they need businesses to like invest and borrow money at cheap rates, right? 90%
of our economy is what's being supported by that money getting put in, not just housing. It's
but if they can't take out loans, it's fucked too. So it's like, how many people are really in the housing market as a percentage of the population? Like, it's the center of our universe, but how many people really give a fuck? How many Canadians does it really affect?
2% of people are moving every year.
At all times. Yeah.
So how many people are actually buying
It used
something?
to be closer to 1, but it's like between 1 and 2%, right? So it's not a big number.
No, but there's way more.
People are sitting at home right now, not talking about the real estate market or what the housing market's going to do and what their value. All my neighbors, my street's very like old neighbors. They've been there forever. No one gives a shit. They don't care about the value of their home. I thought, hey, did you hear about the sale? And then it's like, they're not concerned. It's not. They're going to be there until they're old, and then it's time to go. That's not their motivation, right? In life. Right.
But I think that's because they're at a certain point in life where they've already got the house, so they don't need to care. Like the younger generation, which is just trying to survive, to try to get something.
Some people just don't want to fucking move. They just want to stay. My parents, they never moved. And I was like, guys, like, what are you doing? Your house is worth so much money. Like, keep moving. Like, let's go. And they're like, would you shut up, man? Like, we don't want to move.
Hard. Moving's hard.
The pain in the butt for most people.
Do you think it's though because your parents were part of the generation where success was paying off your mortgage and owning your door? Do you think it was the mindset or just personality type?
No, I mean, my dad's an accountant. He's very safe. He doesn't want to do stuff. He wants to.
Generational money habits are huge. There's a lot of documentation on that about how your upbringing it is and what era you were in and when you were born. And how it was affected. What's his name? JFK, when he talked about when he was running for president, they asked him, hey, what did you think about the Depression era? How did that affect you? He says, I never even knew there was a depression until I went to school and they taught me about it. Right. So there's a lot of things that resolved, somebody's money habits and how they want to spend and, what they think about the market and all that kind of stuff. So, Darryl, your parents' upbringing at that time, it was a little bit more stable. My grandparents never moved, 54 years. In the same house, right?
Yeah.
My grandparents rented for 30 years.
Mine too. Not even 30,
like
forever.
They had a sweet
never
investment
owned.
plan, like that's how it was.
My grandparents were like, both working, rented an apartment at Batherson Steeles, like, like just typical immigrants. And they didn't care. They put money in a sock in a drawer. They had, this is how much money we're going to the grocery store with. And that's all they cared about.
Do either of you guys know, we keep talking about all these new people coming to Canada, right? And do you know what it's like to get, like, I'm actually curious about this. I don't know the answer to this. I'm not setting you up for like a T-ball question here. Who's the people that are coming, they're immigrating to Canada, and a good chunk of them are coming GTA surrounding areas. What qualifies them to come? Like, do they have to already have a certain amount of money? Do they have to invest in the economy? Like, because so we're not just bringing in random people that can't afford things. Like, we're bringing in people with some money in their pockets.
Different programs. There's different programs.
Or skills. Yeah. They need to be
federal
skills,
worker program
licensed.
is one of the biggest ones where they're bringing in people who actually have qualifications already and who are going to be working here from different things. We had a good episode on it with Arjun, and we were talking a lot about that.
Okay.
And it was a huge number. So out of the 400,000, it was like 120,000 of those people were federal skilled workers, and then they have their families on top of that.
Right.
Because so everybody else,
refugees is small. People, permanent residencies who are already here. Like there's different assets and different.
All the locals are realtors now, so we need people that are going to build all these houses and buildings. No, really, like the last construction real boom was fueled by Portuguese and Italians and Greeks and all kinds of, Polish immigrants that came here and like actually put their hands into the mud, right? And built this town up, right? Now, like, I think we've talked about it a few times. Like, who the hell I don't even want to go outside and get the mail, okay? And it's right beside my door, for God's sakes. Who the hell wants to swing a hammer? I'm still old enough to know kind of what it's like to work hard in a day, right? I actually did laborious jobs in my lifetime, but like my kids, like everybody can't be a YouTuber, right? Everybody can't be a TikToker. Everybody can't make money from home. Somebody has to build these places, right? And that's one reason why we need that skilled labor. So they may not have money, but they're willing to, hold a shovel every day. But money is a huge factor for getting in quickly.
We need more illegal immigrants. That's what we need. We need those guys who've got,
we need no
choice but to just work those labor jobs and make sure they get paid well. We should have a whole system.
A boring tunnel under the states. We call Elon Musk under the
Atlantic Ocean. Forget it.
You want to go east?
Let's go to Mexico. You're right. It's probably easier.
Mexico's probably a little bit easier. I'm up for anything though. I mean, we could try it. I want to buy a piece of land that's far enough, but we could put a boring company tunnel from there to like the subway station or the closest GO station, and just like have a self-sustaining Tesla Elon Musk zone.
What do you guys think it costs to build 1 kilometer of subway in Canada? There was a news article that came out a couple of weeks ago. What's your guess?
It's like $1.2 billion or something. Like
$750 million a kilometer. I think it's 775.
That's the budgeted price. What does it actually cost?
The cheapest way to do it was about $100 million per kilometer, and that's in the States. And they dig down from the top, and then they build it, and then they fill it in. But all the traffic disruptions and all that kind of stuff, nobody ever wants to do that because everyone's mad at you. But to actually dig the hole,
boring companies like
in the world, obviously $775 million.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's just the number they tell you. Like, what about if you add all of the interest onto the 8 years of delays?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, either way, that's a huge number, right? So
did you hear?
I don't know how far that location is going to be from the subway station.
They just announced a new subway station in Thornhill. That's pretty cool. Did you hear that?
I didn't.
I knew that there was one.
Royal Orchard. Do you know Royal Orchard there?
I knew. Yeah, they're all pissed off though. Those people.
Sure they are.
Yeah, they're all pissed off.
My aunt and uncle owned a house on Langstaff where they built the 407. Mm-hmm. And it was like his business and his house. He was a photographer and he was like, I'm hanging on till the end, man. I'm hanging on to the end. They're going to pay me a fortune. and they jogged around the guy. Jogged around him just not to pay him. And he made nothing and ended up having to sell to them for peanuts. Crazy. And now that area is going to be like 100 buildings there.
Yeah, they got him good.
Like Condrain bought the whole area and there's a GO station right there.
Yeah.
Crazyville.
So final 2022 predictions. All right, Tom.
Hold on.
What's going to happen? Lay it out for us. We're in month number 1. There's 11 more months coming in 2022.
And are you on the demand or the supply side?
Well, we have enough demand.
It's a problem though.
Forget Darryl's question. What do you think is going to happen in 2022?
From the initial video that I put out, my 2022 predictions for how January is going so far, I might have to tweak my answer slightly. Initially, I thought across the board 10% increases. Now it's like 15 at least, if things even mildly keep up what they're doing, because January is going to be a 10% increase. Like it's crazy how the year started. I still think that interest rates are going to go up 3 times. I think the next 2 available announcements, there's a date in February and March. I think every time is going to be 0.25, not to shock every single person, which is going to affect that variable rate. So if you have a variable rate, something to consider, but it's still going to be way lower than what the fixed rate you can lock in at is. I think that there's going to be way less properties actually sold than last year. So I know that sounds weird to say, but last year we had 25,000 more properties sold than the year previous. It was the biggest year of all time. We crossed 100,000, which has only happened 3 times in the history of the Toronto Real Estate Board. I think we hover between 90 and 100,000 this year. So it'll still be a lot, but not like last year. Opportunities will be less. And at some point, and I hope I'm wrong on this, I think the government's going to do something if right now keeps up.
Do we know if we factor in pre-con sales, where the numbers are last year versus this year?
It's a good question. I don't know, because can you call pre-con sales real if it's not physically there yet?
Well, there must be closings from years previous that happen on pre-con.
They usually track closed.
Urban Nation would be the best. Right? Urban Nation, we could get that data from, like Sean Hildebrand's the top
I just wonder
there.
where we would be year versus year if we add that into the mix.
Yeah.
Still the highest.
Oh, still by far the highest.
Oh, for sure. But is it closer or is it further? Because there must have been a ton in the year previous.
I think it's still pre-construction is still a fraction of the total sales. The highest volume is the Toronto MLS sales.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's the majority. So whether it's new construction like a builder or a condo, sales center or exclusives or anything else like that, it's a fraction of the market.
You want to know my final prediction is that anyone that's buying a pre-construction condo right now better have a 10-year horizon, because, and I don't blame the developers, and Darryl, I know I'm entering your world, but like, I don't blame anyone. If someone's willing to pay for it, that's the market by all means. I'm not. But if you think you're going to flip that thing on assignment and make any money, or you're going to close on it and rent it out and cash flow, like you're in for a rude awakening. A rude awakening.
Yeah.
So,
but good news for condo people, like a resale right now, buy a resale right next to the buildings that are selling, right?
Yeah. Yes.
For
that's
30,
what we
40%
preach.
premium, and you're going to get a great deal. 3 years
from
now,
you're still going to be
really happy.
You're still going to be competing because I guess at this point you're competing. It used to be like resale market's crazy. Go buy pre-con. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can get it. But now it's like there's 4 applications for every 1 unit on pre-con, and there's 10 applications for every 1 unit on resale. So
exactly. Yeah. Buy it, pay the premium, jump up 10%, like you said, 5 to 8%, but maybe 10, maybe you got to go and pay a top dollar price. And in 3-4 years, those pre-construction condos will be closing 30 to 40% more than what you paid. So even if you get your 7-8% a year appreciation, you did well. Right.
I also just think we have to take our actual thoughts, or whether it makes us happy or sad or mad or very frustrated about what the market's doing, and put that aside and build out like a 10-year plan just for your own portfolio. That it doesn't matter what we think. It's like, be conservative with your estimations and set yourself up for the future. Because no matter what job you have or how much money you can make, the sad reality is the average Canadian made more money. Their house made more money than they did last year, right? And if nothing changes significantly, that will continue probably. And if you're going to set yourself up for the future, it's in some type of asset. So I'm not going to come on here as a real estate guy and be like, you have to buy houses. Like, you should have money in other assets as well, but nothing is beating it with the leverage at this point. The leverage available with real estate is hard to beat.
And the cost of the leverage, even with 3 increases, is cheap as hell historically,
Lock it in,
right?
5 years, you're still,
Yeah.
or even your variable
in.
rate, the likelihood of it going up much further is still pretty low. So you're still going to be historically low interest rates. Well, Tom, I think we solved the 2022 prediction for everybody in Toronto. They know exactly what's going to happen. They know where to put their money. They can check you out on your channel, which is Tom Storey. They can also check your website, which I believe is storey.ca.
Storeyteam.ca. Yeah. Thank you.
Storeyteam.ca.
Storey Team. There's a team
And,
there.
There's a team.
Yep. Check him out. He's got lots of great content, much more organized than us. If you haven't subscribed to Tom,
Much more professional. Yeah.
And check out our podcast on Apple and Spotify as well. We love those Apple reviews, and we'll see you guys next week.